Just very briefly about studying in Canada. Canada hosts today over 500,000 international students, and this number is growing very quickly. We see Canada hosting people from all over the world, from any country, any continent, and there are several reasons why a Canadian education is becoming increasingly attractive over the past couple of years. Firstly, there are very high quality schools in Canada, like the University of Toronto, which Imran will tell you all about. We also have in Canada a very friendly process to obtain a student visa, a study permit, and any further work authorization for after graduation. For example, compared to some other countries, you don't need to visit an embassy to get a student visa, and it's also pretty straightforward to get a study permit after graduation. And if you wanted to afterwards, to be on the path towards permanent residency and citizenship afterwards. If you want to learn a little more about that, we're having another webinar later this week, and I'll post some information about that after our conversation today. And finally, Canadians in general have a good reputation for compassion and tolerance. Canada is an extremely diverse country with people from all around the world, and it's one of the truly lovely characteristics that makes Canada, myself as a Canadian, that makes me quite proud of our country. So I'll turn it over to Imran. Imran, do you want to share your screen, or I can present your slides as well?
Well, yeah, if you can present the slides, that would be great. I just need to be able to switch through.
Sounds good. Here we go.
So do I have control over the?
Let me see if I can give you remote control. Why don't you try now?
So I'd like to make it full screen, first of all.
Let's see if I can do that for you. There we go.
Perfect. Oh, all right. Hello everyone again. I've already introduced myself, so we can skip that. I usually like to start talking about the University of Toronto with our location, Toronto. Unlike, many other cities in the world, Sasha just did talk about it, but, Canada and Toronto especially is one of the most welcoming cities in the world. We have been ranked as one of the most multicultural in the world, ahead of New York and London. About over half of Toronto's population was actually born outside of Canada. So if you could just think about, over 200 languages being spoken in a city, people from all over the world sharing their ideas and culture. It's really a wonderful place to live. It has also been ranked as one of the, cities with the highest standards of living, the best place to live. Many consulting firms and other rankings institutions have also given Toronto the accolade of being a great city of opportunity for young professionals and new immigrants to the country. So, it really is it's a wonderful place to live, but also to work and build a career. Being Canada's sort of commercial capital, Toronto is also the second largest financial center in all of North America, behind New York. So a lot of job opportunities in the city. Okay, now where Rotman is located, our location is really a strategic advantage for our students. So you can see from the map here, Bay Street is really, it's the Canadian equivalent of Wall Street in the US, and Rotman is located, about a 10-minute walk. It's located about a 10-minute walk away from downtown. So what that allows our students to do is to be in close proximity to employers throughout the 2 years that they're going to be in the MBA program. Of course, we have global recruiters, top firms coming on campus, almost on a weekly basis to recruit students. But this also helps students meet with employers and alumni on an ongoing basis. So they're able to build their professional network and grow their professional network while they're in the program. Now, while Toronto is the financial hub of the country, there's a lot of opportunities available in many other sectors as well, because 70% of all global and Canadian headquarters are in Toronto. So if you're interested in, consulting, marketing, technology, there's really a lot of opportunity. Healthcare as well. We're also we're located very close to the University Health Network, which is one of the world's largest networks of hospitals and research centers anywhere, across the globe. The Mars Discovery District, is literally in Rotman's backyard, and the Mars Discovery District is the world's largest social innovation hub. So Rotman does have a close working relationship with Mars, and many of our students, not only end up doing internships and consulting projects with companies that are being incubated at Mars, but also go on to working at Mars and starting their own businesses through that ecosystem. So location does matter. Here's a small sampling of companies that are located within about a 10-15 minute walk off campus, and these are some of the top recruiters not only in Canada but across the world in many different industries. So I'd like to now move on to talking a little bit about the University of Toronto. The University of Toronto, has been around for close to 200 years, so it's one of Canada's oldest academic institutions. We've had a history of graduating prime ministers, Nobel laureates, and we've consistently been ranked as one of the top universities, not only in Canada but across the world. This past year, we were ranked, number 6 outside of the U.S. Worldwide by Times, and we're also ranked number 18, so top 20 in the world for our research. The University of Toronto is a research-intensive university. There's global scholars and leading academics, coming to Canada, coming to University of Toronto specifically to advance in their academic and research pursuits. So we do have over $1 billion in research funding every year, as well as one of the largest alumni networks across the world. In comparison to other Canadian universities, University of Toronto is the largest university in Canada with over 90,000 students spread across 3 campuses in the city. So our ranking and global reputation it not only attracts top talent in terms of students from all over the world, but also top faculty like Professor Sarah Kaplan, for example. So to give you a bit of background, Professor Kaplan worked at McKinsey in New York for about a decade. She then went on to doing her PhD at MIT and is now teaching strategy to the first-year MBA students. In addition to her teaching responsibilities, Professor Kaplan also heads our GATE Institute, which is Gender and the Economy. And that institute is doing some groundbreaking research in the area of gender imbalance in the workplace and the work pay gap that exists in the workplace today. I mean, it's quite sad that it does, but it's still it's a very topical issue. And she's working with the government and private organizations, to conduct research that will hopefully move the needle on that going forward. So, Professor Kaplan is doing is a prime example of academics doing something that will have an overall impact on the economy, and she's just one of many. Professor John Hull is another one for those of you who are interested in finance. John Hull is really the father of artificial intelligence and finance, and he also wrote the book on options, futures, and derivatives that is now used in universities across the world. Now, because of our reputation, we also attract global politicians and business leaders from across the world to come on campus for various speaking engagements, book launches. You know, we have a lot of world-renowned authors that come on campus to speak about their research and their work. So Rotman hosts over 100 speaker events every year. You know, we've had Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We've also had the former Prime Minister of Australia, the former Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, and many other leading politicians and thinkers come on campus. And as students, you know, you have open access to all of these public events to further grow your network and expand your perspective on, you know, global issues. So moving on to talking a little bit about the MBA program, okay, there we go. Oh, skipped ahead. Our program is a 20-month full-time program, which is broken down into 16 months of study. So we have 4 semesters of courses, and then you have a 4-month internship that's mandatory that happens in between the first and second year. So the first 8 months or 2 terms of the program is what we call the core curriculum, or sort of a set of business courses that are prescribed to all students. And you have to go through those, the myriad of, business functional courses, right from accounting to finance, operations, strategy, marketing, so on and so forth. Once you complete the core courses, you then move on to the second year, where you can pick your electives and your specializations. So we currently offer 15 different areas of specialization with over 100 elective courses, and you have to pick 9 to 10 elective courses in your second year. But before you get there, we do have a 4-month internship that you must complete. Now, it is a mandatory part of the program, so every student does complete an internship, but the semester you do it in is flexible. So, once you complete your first 2 terms, you then have a summer break, and most students, about 75 to 80% of the students do their internship in the summer term. That's just primarily because most of the internship opportunities are available in the summer. That's when most companies have summer internship opportunities available. So it's natural that most of the students pursue the internship there, but it is possible to do it in the fall or the winter term, depending on if you want to take advantage of other opportunities like exchanges and study trips. So that's sort of this, that's kind of the structure of our program, but it really is a customizable program. So once you complete the core term, the next 3 terms are really up to you how you want to, design and customize your path. I'm not going to talk about a few research centers or labs that are really unique to Rotman and provide wonderful opportunity to students to learn and to grow. The first is our Creative Destruction Lab. Creative Destruction Lab was started in 2012, and since then has grown to becoming one of the fastest growing tech incubators in the world that focuses primarily on massively scalable and disruptive technology like artificial intelligence, blockchain, healthcare, quantum computing, and even space. So since its inception, it has now grown to about over $3 billion in equity value. And that has been created for the startups that the Creative Destruction Lab incubates. And students in the program do have an opportunity to work with the Creative Destruction Lab, either working with the lab itself or one of the venture capital partners that are funding the lab, but also with over 40 to 50 startups that are being incubated in the lab at any given time. So for those of you who are interested in entrepreneurship, whether it's healthcare innovation or social innovation, using disruptive technology, there is definitely opportunity for you to engage with the CDL, and gain that experience and exposure. Learning through the mistakes of others is often the best way of learning. So, learning about the challenges that other entrepreneurs are facing and how they overcome those, it puts you in a much better position if you want to go out and start your own business post the MBA program. Right. We also offer numerous global opportunities to our students. So we have 24 exchange partners across 17 countries. And for one semester in your second year, you are able to study abroad, do courses at one of our partner business schools. That will count towards your Rotman elective. So if you are looking to gain some international exposure during the MBA program, that's definitely possible. For those of you who don't want to, commit to doing 3 or 4 months abroad, we do have shorter international study trips. We call them industry treks. We have a business design trek to New York City, entrepreneurship and technology trek to Silicon Valley, and we also do other treks to Latin America, China, Southeast Asia. So that's another opportunity for you. We also do numerous global consulting projects throughout the year. Someone's doing some artwork on the slides, which is totally cool. So we have global consulting projects where students work either in teams or individually with clients that could be in Canada, but we have a majority of our clients are international. And then doing business internationally is another opportunity where you would work with a faculty member on consulting projects that are both, again, in Canada and overseas. So a lot of international experience and international opportunities available to students in the Rotman MBA program. Moving on. Oh, okay. Sasha, okay, there we go. Another lab that's quite unique to Rotman is our SDL, or Self-Development Lab. The Self-Development Lab was started by Dr. Maya Jikic, who is a PhD in the area of personality development. She joined hands with a Harvard-trained clinical psychologist to create one of the world's first self-improvement labs. Many business schools offer self-improvement or soft skills development workshops, seminars. So at Rotman, we've taken this a step further, and we've actually created a technology lab that helps you become more self-aware and helps you develop your interpersonal communication skills and your leadership skills at the same time. So, using technology like facial recognition and artificial intelligence, they've actually come up with a curriculum that helps you, with your negotiation skills, with, like I said, interpersonal communication, team management, managing team dynamics, conflict resolution, those kinds of areas that are really critical and important for managers to develop. So John Byrne, who's the chief editor for Poets and Quants, which is a large education forum based out of the US, actually visited Rotman, and he gave us an accolade of being one of the world's most far-reaching personal development initiatives. So that's really a wonderful honor to have from John. But students in the program as well speak to the SDL as being one of the most transformative experiences in their MBA program. Now, in addition to the curriculum and a lot of the labs and research and travel opportunities that we have for students, we also encourage students to get engaged and participate in a lot of extracurricular activities that we have at Rotman. So the students in our Graduate Business Council have over 40 clubs that are they're run by students, and they're divided into sort of the business clubs like the Rotman Sports Association or the Finance Association. But we also have cultural clubs like we have the Rotman African and Caribbean Students Association, the South Asian Business Students Association, and they put up a lot of social events and cultural events where they share their culture and business practices, and students in the entire Rotman community can learn from that. So we encourage students to participate and take on leadership roles in the clubs that are run at Rotman. So here's an example of Tyler Flexman. Tyler graduated from the MBA program in 2016. When she was doing the MBA, there weren't that many opportunities available in sports management, and this was an area of interest for her. So she actually started her own club, which is now still run as the Rotman Sports Association, and using her network and leveraging Rotman's network was actually able to bring Masai Ujiri, who's the president of the Toronto Raptors, on campus to talk to students about the business of sports. So we really give students a platform to expand their impact, grow their network, and ultimately become successful in the job market. So Tyla, after engaging with Masai, was able to then work as a marketing manager with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. They're the company that owns the Toronto Raptors as well as the Toronto Maple Leafs post-graduation. So creating opportunities for yourself by leveraging the Rotman network. Speaking of networking, that is one of the most important takeaways from an MBA program. And I think students at Rotman have a huge advantage there because the Rotman MBA is the largest MBA program in the country. So every year we have about 300 students entering the program. These 300 students are divided into 4 sections of about 70 to 75 students per section. So you still have a small classroom experience, but your cohort is quite large, and you're able to, over the 20-month period, interact and network with the entire cohort. And your network is not just limited to your immediate cohort, but because you also get a chance to interact outside of class, obviously, with the incoming class and the outgoing class. So you leave the 20-month Rotman MBA program with a professional and personal network of around 1,000 students. Of course, when you graduate from the program, you go on to joining one of Canada's largest alumni communities with over 15,000 alumni working primarily in Canada, but we do have alumni spread across the world in over 90 countries. So talking a little bit about our Career Center and the support they give to our students. Our Career Center is divided into 2 teams. So we have a team of industry advisors that are sort of specialists in one or 2 industries. They've had previous experience working in those industries, so they bring a lot of industry knowledge, to the center. We also have career coaches that work with students individually on a one-to-one basis on improving, helping them along with their job search. So you have 2 career mentors that work with you one-on-one throughout the MBA program, and I think that level of support is really what makes students highly successful getting out of the program. We've been ranked consistently as one of the top schools in the country for employability. with over 90% of our students being employed at the 6-month mark after graduation. Of course, as international students, Sasha, you talked about this earlier, you know, when you graduate from the program, you are able to live and work in the country for up to 3 years on a open work permit. So you're not limited to a company or, you know, one location. You're free to, you know, switch jobs, switch positions, switch companies within that 3-year period, and then move. You know, that's a pathway to immigration with PR that comes after the work permit. Okay, so, oh, sorry. Right. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see. Right. So I just wanted to touch quickly on, Sasha, I know I'm kind of eating into your time here, so I apologize. I just wanted to touch on sort of what we look for in a Rotman applicant or a Rotman candidate. So we've kind of divided it into 4 different components. So these are 4 different components of the Rotman application, starting with intellectual horsepower. You know, the Rotman MBA program is a very academically rigorous program. So students that come in to the MBA, you know, we want to ensure that we're setting them up for success and that they will be able to manage the workload in the program. So we are looking for students that have proven academic ability, and we look for an undergraduate degree with a B or a 3.0 GPA and your GMAT or GRE score. So that those 2 you know, data points give us a sense of your intellectual capability or horsepower. The second component is work experience, and we do require students to have at least 2 years at the time they start the program, 2 years of full-time post-graduation work experience. The average in our program this year is about 5 years. More important than the number of years of work experience, though, is the impact. So we're not measuring your, you know, or we don't really care so much about your title or, you know, whether the company you're working for is like a brand company, you know, a multinational. That is secondary to the impact that you've had in the organizations that you've worked in. So before coming to Rotman, you know, we want students that have really left a mark in their at their organizations, that have really taken initiative and gone above and beyond and shown that they have leadership potential, that they've really added value to the companies that they've worked in prior to the MBA. So for that, we'll ask for your resume, and we also ask for 2 professional references. These ideally should be from your immediate manager or supervisor. The third component is communication and presence. The Rotman MBA is a very inclusive curriculum. You will be expected to participate heavily in classroom discussions and in group work. So communication and presence is very important, and we do test for that in the application. So your written essay. We have 2 video essays that are part of the application, and then every applicant that is successful has to go through an admission interview as well with a representative from the admissions team. The last component is what we call spike factor. So this is everything. This is everything that you do outside of work and academia. So if you have any really cool hobbies, or if you've done some amazing things in your life, if you've set a goal for yourself and been able to work hard to achieve that goal, that shows perseverance and determination. And these are values that we really do care about at Rotman. So our essay in the application is really, describe your spike factor. What makes you unique? What makes you interesting? What excites you to get out of bed in the morning, and how will you contribute to the Rotman classroom experience and the community? So that's really what we call spike factor. Okay. So the tuition fee for the MBA program for international students, it's 129,000 Canadian dollars, which in US dollars is about 100,000 US dollars for 2 years. We do offer a lot of financial aid and support to students. We have over $4 million in scholarships that we award to students every year. The range of scholarships is about $5,000 to full scholarship. The average scholarship amount this past year was about $25,000, and about 80% of the students that are admitted to the program receive a scholarship. Okay. Now we realize we can't give full scholarships to everyone. I wish we could, but let's say you get a partial scholarship. We do have amazing partners like MPOWER Finance, for example, that also assists us in funding our students. So, Sasha, is this a good segue to turn it over to you?
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Imran.
And thank you guys. Thank you all for listening. I'll go through the chat box in the meantime and answer any questions about the MBA program.
Thank you so much, Imran. And we will have some time for questions and answers afterwards. I won't take up too much time to tell you about MPOWER. So very quickly, who we are and what we do is we offer education financing, that is loans and scholarships, to students from all around the world to help them study at top schools like Rotman. We are a very international team ourselves. So we speak, actually these numbers are a little bit out of date. We speak more than 20 languages now, and come from more than 13 nationalities, which really shows that we're an international team and we really believe in helping to make education accessible to students from all over the world. So a couple of questions that a lot of students ask us are, why is it so hard to get a loan from a bank without a cosigner or collateral, and why does the banking process take so long? And these are questions that MPOWER was designed to help fix. As a 21st century loan provider, we offer student loans without the need for a cosigner, collateral, or prior credit history. We can fund up to about 67,000 Canadian dollars, which is about half of what a Rotman education would cost. And our expenses can cover tuition, housing, meals, or any other education-related expense. We also help our students to build a credit history, which is extremely valuable after graduation, and we offer many discounts on interest rates, which I'll talk about later. Finally, we additionally offer support for immigration and the visa process, and don't charge any prepayment fees for students. So for example, after you graduate from Rotman, your first job in Toronto, you get a great offer, a great sign-up bonus, you can pay off your loan right away with no penalties associated. And of course, we are rated the #1 student loan provider for international students by both NerdWallet and US News and World Report. I can talk about the perks of an MPOWER loan that were better, easier, and cheaper than some of the other alternatives that you might have heard of. But I think what a lot of students like to hear from us about, and I'll jump to it really quickly, is how do we really help students in ways that other firms don't? And one of the things I like to talk about is that we offer fixed interest rate loans. And what this means is that your interest rate will never go up over time. A fixed rate means that your rate never increases, that you don't have to worry about what will your payment next month be because it never goes up, but it can go down because one thing that we offer at MPOWER is a lot of interest rate discounts. We like to reward students who have great academic performance by offering discounts. And these are discounts that every single one of you is eligible for. Signing up for automatic payments, you can do right away on day one. For making 6 consecutive payments on autopay, well, 6 months later, you can get another discount. So these are just some of the examples of how we try to help students and set up students for success, not only in school, but after graduation as well. One of our most popular services are our scholarships. So we offer many scholarships. I think last year we offered about $100,000 worth, and we're probably going to be offering even more this year. The list of scholarships and eligibility is changing all the time, so I'd actually recommend visiting our website to get notified when a new scholarship matches you. Some are, for example, only for women, or some might only be for African students or any other demographic. But our most popular scholarship is the Global Citizenship Award. And that, I think we've offered last year about $40,000 for that scholarship alone. Now you can see some of the happy faces of some of the scholarship recipients in recent years. There are a couple of other free perks that we offer all of our students, like career resources, like a resume review, again, to help set you up for success after graduation. We also offer support for mock interviews and networking supports, and we've helped students find job and internship opportunities as well. Of course, Rotman has a fantastic career services division, and you should definitely take advantage of their services. But of course, the more people helping you with all of this, the better. So that's it for me for now. Imran, I will defer for you to please write your contact information, I guess, on the chat if any students want to contact you. But I guess we'd be happy to spend the rest of our time, about 15 minutes or so, addressing any of your questions.
I'm just going to type in my email address into the chat box. So if anyone would like to discuss their personal profile or situation with me, talk about specific admission requirements or criteria, I'd be more than happy to take that discussion offline and chat with each of you individually.
So Imran, there is one question we received on a preference between a GRE and a GMAT. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So we were pretty agnostic to taking, students giving us the GMAT or the GRE. All we do is we convert the GRE score using the ETS conversion tool to a GMAT to get a sense of, where the student stacks up in terms of GMAT takers. But yes, we're absolutely agnostic to both tests. And I also should mention, I didn't get a chance to go into too much detail, but if you have a CFA3, so if you're working on the CFA designation and you've completed the CFA3 exam, we do exempt you from the GMAT. So the GMAT or GRE requirement is waived for students who have the CFA3. Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Right.
There's a question for which schools MPOWER offers financing for. I'd say that I'd recommend visiting our website for that. There's a full list of schools over there in both the US and Canada.
So for students who've studied English at the undergraduate level, we don't, or who studied in English, if English was the language of instruction at your undergraduate institution, we don't require either the TOEFL or the IELTS. Any other questions?
Just a reminder, if you'd like to submit a question, then please use the chat feature. Looks like a lot of you have.
There's a question from Suleiman. Yes, international students do qualify for the loan. I believe it's exclusively for international students.
That's right, and it actually takes only about 30 seconds to confirm your eligibility on our website. So I'd recommend going to our website. Again, it takes only like 30 seconds or so to check, and that's a way to confirm your eligibility very quickly. Imran, there are some questions on engineering management or maybe other disciplines at Rotman available.
So we don't have a specialization in engineering management, but about 20 to 25% of students in our program are engineers. We do see it's quite a common transition to go from sort of working as an engineer or in a technical role for those students who want to break into management or get into senior management within the technology or engineering industry. I mean, a common pathway is the MBA, so it's quite a common. We see this quite a lot, but yes, there's no specific a program in engineering management. We do have a direct entry program for students who have an engineering degree in Canada, but not international, unfortunately. The requirements for admission are, as I mentioned, we have academic requirements and work experience requirements. And then obviously it's the communication piece and spike factor and extracurricular activities. There's, all of the requirements are listed in a lot of detail on our website. So if you go to, I can type it in the chat box here. So if you go to www.rotman.utoronto.ca, go to the full-time MBA program. There's a lot of useful links, webinars, podcasts, and the admission requirements listed there as well.
There are a couple of questions on loan payment and loan terms as well for an MPOWER loan. All of our loans are for 10 years in length. I should say 10 years after graduation. So you can, for example, use them for your 20 months within your Rotman MBA, then a 6-month grace period after graduation, and then 10 years after that. That being said, again, we don't offer any penalties or fees for paying early. So you can pay it off as quickly as you like, and you can save some money that way on interest payments as well. A student just asked as well, would you be able to access financing loans from month one? And yes, you can. You can use it. Let's say you get a letter of admission from Imran. You can apply on our website, get your first semester paid by MPOWER. We do ask for optional interest-only payments. I stress that they're optional, but we do ask for interest-only payments while in school. And there are a couple of reasons for this. Number one, it stops the interest from accumulating. And number two, it helps you to build a credit profile quickly as well. And for those of you who are familiar with the importance of building credit, that can help you get other financial products or even to rent an apartment after you graduate.
Okay, there's a question about average GMAT score from Arun. So Arun, the average GMAT score this past year at Rotman was 670, and in our current admission cycle, it's trending towards 680. So, I think at the end of this admission cycle, we should be, somewhere in the ballpark of 670 to 680. There's also a question about, for those of you who have a low CGPA. So, we have a holistic admissions process. There's not, we look at every single component of the application. So what we're looking for is a strong overall application. And what that means is, if you're low on something, I mean, it's not easy for everyone to check all the boxes, right? You may have a low GPA, in which case, if you can definitely compensate for that with a higher GMAT score, for example, or fantastic work experience, or any other, any of the other components that are tested in the application. So, don't self-select yourself out of the application process just because of a low CGPA. That being said, we don't take into account your CGPA for admission. We only look at the last year of your undergraduate studies. So if you're able, we realize, life happens. Sometimes you're struggling through undergraduate programs for a variety of reasons. hopefully you were able to pull it together at the end and do really well in your last year. So we give students that kind of flexibility, and we only take the last year of your undergraduate degree into account. So for those of you who recently studied English, yes, you would have to still take the TOEFL test. Like I said, if you haven't studied in undergrad, your undergraduate degree was not taught in English, if it was taught in another language, then you do need the TOEFL or the IELTS. For me, asked about which MBA program can I study. So with the Bachelor of Technology in Electrical Power Systems, the most common MBA or the best MBA program for you would be the full-time MBA. The part-time MBA program is not designed for international students. It's designed for working professionals in Toronto. So for international students, you're either going to apply to the full-time MBA program or one of our executive MBA programs, but that again is a part-time program. Okay, so for me, the best option for you would be the full-time MBA. Again, the documents, the required documents are all on the website. So please do look at the website, and if you still have any more questions, please feel free to email me. So international, there's another question about international trade and the economy. So international trade and like economics are definitely courses that are offered at Rotman, both in the first year and the second year, in sort of the electives that you can choose from. Christian, the application process is completely done online. So you can go online, create an account, and then start working on your application. So for English-speaking countries, most of your, most universities will have written on the transcript that the language of instruction is English. But if you're from an English-speaking country, and the business language is English and the language of education is English, again, you don't need the TOEFL or the IELTS. Nicolette, you're concerned about community service. I would say, so community service, first of all, is not mandatory. Not everyone has the time to do community service. So it's not something that's absolutely mandatory as part of the application. But you did volunteer as a math tutor. So that would definitely count towards community service. And I don't think it would be negative. I think it's actually a positive on your application as opposed to a negative, okay? The studies, Leslie, are not online. They're all in person. So you would have to come to Rotman for 2 years to complete the program, okay? It's not a residential program, but you do need to be in the city to attend classes in person. We don't really, we have students from all different, backgrounds in the program. You don't necessarily need to have an engineering or finance or business degree. So if you have a Bachelor of Education, we welcome an application from you. We also have athletes, we have musicians, artists in the program. We have students from humanities and social sciences backgrounds. And we welcome those applications because that really adds to the diversity in the program. So we're not, we don't have any requirements for the type of undergraduate degree that you hold. In fact, I would say the more diverse and the more different, the better. Okay. So the visa and the application process, I can touch on that briefly. Once you're given an offer of admission to the MBA program, the next step for you would be to figure out your funding. So with our offer of admission, there's no separate application for scholarships. When you get your offer of admission, you will you will get the scholarship offer at the same time. So there's no, you'll have all of the information in terms of the funding and financial support that the university is giving you upfront. Based on that, you can kind of, look at your budget and see what the, if you need to go out and borrow and how much you need to borrow. So you'll have a better idea of that. So the next step would be to identify sources of funding, and that's where MPOWER can be a huge help to you. But for applying for the study permit, you do need to show at least 1 year of tuition plus 1 year of living expenses. You need to show that you've sourced the funds for that. Okay, that's all that's required to apply for a Canadian study permit. So if you have a letter from MPOWER saying, you're granted a loan of $50,000 US, that's over 1 year of tuition for the MBA program, so you're fine. That's all you need, plus your reasonable living expenses for 1 year. Okay.
And if any folks have any further questions about the visa process, or just generally Canadian visas, MPOWER is hosting a webinar on later this week, I believe on Thursday. If you'd like some information on that, please send an email to the MPOWER email address that you see on your screen.
So I also got a question about the criteria for loans and scholarships. So, Sasha can talk more about the criteria for loans, but criteria for scholarships from Rotman is based on merit. Okay, it's not based on academic merit. It's based on the merit of your overall application. So, how strong your overall application is with respect to not only your academics, but also your work experience, spike factor, communication. All of that has an important role to play in terms of your overall application. Okay?
And for the criteria for an MPOWER loan, we look at the student's future potential and what we think that their potential is after graduating from a top school like Rotman. And actually, fortunately, what we've actually realized is that Rotman students have a very high approval rate for MPOWER loans. So I'd say broadly, do apply on our website. Again, it takes about 30 seconds just to check your eligibility. But I'd say nearly every Rotman student who has come to us has been approved for a loan. For our scholarships as well, I'd recommend having a look at our website simply because all of our scholarships are a little bit different. They might have slightly different eligibility criteria, but generally they require a pretty quick, to call an essay is generous, but like a paragraph more or less describing your experience or why you qualify for the specific scholarship. And again, all of our scholarships are a little bit different. So please look at our website to find the scholarship that most reflects what you're studying and what you're interested in.
I have, there's a question about, if I'm studying in a French country. So there are, Benin is one of them, but there's also, Cameroon, for example, is another. There's as I said, it applies to all international students. If you've studied in a country where your undergraduate degree was taught in another language other than English, you do need to take the TOEFL or the IELTS, okay? There's another question about, I just saw it, about family. Yes, so that's a really great question. Thank you for that. Canada is one of the only countries that actually allows you to travel with a family. So if you have a spouse, if you have children, your entire family can travel with you. Your children can be enrolled in a school in Toronto, and your spouse would actually get an open work permit to work while you're studying. So, I know when you have a family, it's even harder to make that decision and take the plunge to go back to school because of the huge financial hit that your family would have for the 2-year period. But if, definitely with having one of the, your spouse being able to work can alleviate some of that financial burden. The application, again, someone asked about how do I apply for this? The application is online. Okay, so if you go to the website and go to the full-time MBA page, you can start an application directly through the website.
Maybe we can take one more question for now.
Okay. Again, if you do have, further questions, please feel free to email me, imran.kanga@rotman.utoronto.ca. I included it in the chat as well, but I look forward to interacting with you offline after the session as well.
Great. Well,
so
thank you.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, Imran. I was just going to thank everybody for being a part of this webinar, and to encourage you and to encourage everybody, good luck in your application process. You have the contact information on the screen for both Imran and MPOWER, so please don't hesitate to be in touch.
And thank you all for attending. This is the first step in your research process. So we appreciate that you've taken the time to be here, and we look forward to supporting you. Not only from the funding and financing perspective, but also supporting you through your career journey.
All right. Well, this ends the webinar, and thank you so much to everybody who attended, and thank you, Imran, as well, for your time today.
Thank you, guys.